Joe Biden sees his blue-collar Scranton roots as a way to cut into President Trump's appeal with white working-class voters.
I really do view this campaign as a campaign between Scranton and Park Avenue. And I really mean it because, you know, the way we were raised up here in this area, an awful lot of hard-working people busted their neck. All they asked for is a shot, just a shot. All that Trump could see from Park Avenue is Wall Street. All he thinks about is the stock market and telling we're going to do all right. Everybody owns stock. How many of you all own stock in Scranton? Now, my neighborhood in Scranton, not a whole lot of people own stock.
But coalitions are complicated, and Biden must also be mindful that to avoid a 2016 repeat, Democrats need enthusiastic support from African Americans.
Do you see ways that you've benefited from white privilege?
Sure, I've benefited just because I don't have to go through what my black brothers and sisters have had to go through, number one. But number two, you know, grow up here in Scranton. We're used to guys who look down their nose at us. We're looked at people who look at us and think that we're suckers. Look at us and they think that we're not equivalent to them.
CNN political commentator, Democratic strategist Angela Rye joins me now. Angela, so coalitions are complicated is the point I made at the top, and everybody looks at these things from a different perspective. You know the conversation right now among some Democrats, is the Biden campaign doing enough to motivate African American turnout? Is the Biden campaign doing enough, especially with African American men? If you look at 2016, you can see why Democrats would be concerned about that. When you watch a town hall like last night, it's in blue-collar Scranton. It is aimed primarily in that community at white working class voters, but did you see what you need to see on the broader coalition questions?
I think the campaign still has a lot of work to do, and I think in the recent weeks they've made a number of strides. By the way, John, happy National Black Voter Day. It is a new thing, but it is happening. And, you know, today is a great opportunity and a great day for the campaign to do several things. I think the first thing the campaign should do and really must do, there was an agenda that was released last year from Black to the Future. It's called the Black Agenda 2020. And that agenda includes specific bills that should be passed, specific priorities from talking to 30,000 Black people all over the country. It's the work of Alicia Garza, who is also a co-creator of Black Lives Matter. That's something they could immediately do. They should immediately be in conversation. With the movement for Black Lives, I understand there have been some conversations, but to talk about a path forward, when we start talking about an agenda for Black people and what will move folks to the polls, it is always true that Black people are issue voters, and you're not likely to just get energizing and invigoration around a ticket alone. There has to be policy that bolsters that. I'm a tremendous Kamala Harris fan, and the reason for that is I know that we are in alignment on issues, and I think that this is the time for Joe Biden to bridge the gap from his past to the present and to the future. What are the bills that he will immediately sign into law when Congress passes them as president? Those are some of the commitments that he can be making. At the town hall last night, when talking about police violence, Joe Biden was just a hair shy of saying that he would sign justice in policing into law. Justice in policing is a bill that Kamala Harris championed and led on the Senate side. It has not yet passed the Senate, but it did pass the House. Those are the types of substantive commitments he can make. It's not enough just to say that he can empathize with his Black brothers and sisters. I think it's more important that he says, I know I've benefited from white privilege. I know that policy making tends to benefit those who look like me, but here are the things that I know I need to do to shore up support from people who do not.
Well, so let's listen to some of that then, because you mentioned his past, and for those old enough to remember, or those who want to use the internet to look it up, you know, Joe Biden sometimes gets skepticism in the African American community because of his support back in 1994 for the crime bill. Some other things too, but that is the big one at this end. So he faced some resistance in the primaries for this. The Trump campaign is trying to say Joe Biden is for defunding police. He is not. So listen here. Here's both the president and Joe Biden on the issue of race and policing.
I do feel that we have to also take into consideration that if you look at our police, they do a phenomenal job. You'll have people choke, make mistakes, and they happen. It happens where they have to make a fast decision and some bad things happen.
Very few white parents have to turn and say to their kid once they get their license, make sure if you're pulled over, put both hands on top of the wheel. Don't reach for the glove box. Make sure you do whatever the police officer says.
So your take on that, if I'm hearing you right, is that's good but not good enough?
I was actually referencing another part of the answer. I think that part of the answer demonstrates that Joe Biden has certainly been in communication with folks in the Black community. The talk is a very real thing. Of course, it was referenced in the question. It's something that I have to talk to my godsons who are 10 and 16 about, 10 years old. My godson just the other day told me, I said, "Are you afraid of the police?" And he said, "No, not yet." And I said, "Well, when do you think you would become afraid of the police?" He said, "Probably about 13. That's a very dangerous thing, right? And I understand certainly that Donald Trump has no concept for what is problematic about police behavior. But we also have to get rid of this narrative that it's about a few bad apples that spoil the whole bunch. It's about bad systems and systems that have to be overhauled. The one recommendation I would give the Joe Biden campaign is that you can't continue to reference the 21st Century Council on Policing as the path forward. It was great in 2014. Now we need 2020 solutions.
Angela Rye, I appreciate your insights. We'll continue the conversation in the final 6 weeks of a more than interesting campaign. And to that point, Joe Biden and Donald Trump face off. The first presidential debate is 11 days from now. You can watch it. You should watch it. All play out right here, live on CNN. Our special